Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you, not the Messiah, not even Monty Python's Mr. Kraos, but the inseminator-in-chief of British political life, Nigel Farage, fresh from a sojourn on the top floor of the Liberal Club where he held a press conference. God knows why he wants to do it in the Liberal Club, but I suppose maybe he's inspired in these heady times by the insemination of Jeremy Thorpe, maybe, because you go downstairs and there's this magnificent picture in red of Jeremy Thorpe looking grand and patriarchal. And this week, Nigel Farage has stepped into that mantle. He's stepped forward not only as the man to take back control, I'm not shallow, but apparently also to help you back up your fertility. Yes, in a policy offering that might have come from a crossover from Call the Midwife and The Apprentice. Farage has pledged to personally reverse our collapsing birth rate, support married couples, and in his own magnanimous flourish, to forgive Zia Yusuf with all the humility of a televangelist, forgiving Judas over brunch. At a press conference this week, Farage outlined a vision that combines tax incentives for married couples, the abolition of the two-child benefit cap, and a pointed criticism of the UK's abortion law. We've lost our sense of how important family is, he intoned moments before referencing his own colourful history with divorce. This is Farage, the procreative pragmatist. Not for him the abstract talk of GDP or productivity. No, he's promising babies, benefits and bedfellows in wedlock, an approach so startlingly fertile it could be dismarketed as Nigel Farage IVF for the nation. He's going to be backed up by Boris Johnson. Whoa, let's stay the sofa. Of course, there's a touch of paradox here. The man who says he's not the Pope still feels qualified to weigh in on abortion, describing the 24-week limit as irrational, despite insisting he's pro-choice. This is Farage's characteristic style. Take the position, undermine it slightly, then top it off with a side of anti-elite common sense. Lots of topping from Farage, like a sort of salivating icing, as if proposing a national fertility programme weren't enough. Farage has simultaneously cast himself in the role of priestly confessor to Zia Yusuf, after Yusuf criticised Reform UK's MP, calling for a burqa ban, a policy not actually held by the party. He resigned, repented, and rejoined within 48 hours. I forgive him, said Farage with the solemnity of Moses descending from Mount Brexit. Don't do it again, he warned like a headmaster with a fondness for miscreants. This is where Farage's magnanimity becomes performance art. He is the Caesar of the forgiveness, of the modern 21st century forgiveness. The man who spent years blasting the establishment now plays the elder statesman within his own insurgent tribe. He's both avenger and absolver, Churchill and Jesus, depending on what polling day requires. And Yusuf, reinstalled as head of Reform's new Doge unit, a Musk-inspired government efficiency team named after an internet meme, competes with Farage to complete the cycle. There's another fertility image: confession, penance, redemption, digital innovation, thrusting into the digital space. Anglicanism meets Silicon Valley. And all this takes place as Farage campaigns in steel towns today and mining villages, where he pledges to reopen coal mines, stand by British families and restore heavy industry. But let's not forget, 2 weeks ago he was in Las Vegas launching a crypto bill. In fact, his earnings include £280,000 for flogging gold bullion and £2,500 per hour on GB News, figures which might make even Jacob Rees-Mogg blush. Yet curiously, in the latest polls, more voters think Farage is working class than Starmer, and that's despite one being the son of a toolmaker and the other a former commodities trader with a sideline in offshore tax consultancy. It seems authenticity isn't about background, it's about tone, bravado, and yes, having the brass neck to talk about pregnancy policy in one breath and crypto in the next. Farage's promise to lift the two-child benefit cap is on the surface surprisingly progressive. Labour has dodged the issue. Fearing electoral cost, Farage charges in and claims it as his own, but as he yokes it to the worldview, support for traditional families, suspicion of immigration, and a focus on British-born babies, it's natalism with a nativist lilt. It's also where his performative politics becomes dangerous. The concern is not whether Farage wants people to have children, it's which children he wants to reproduce. The family policy is generous, yes, but restricted to British citizens. It's less of a hand of support, more of a velvet glove, hiding a nationalist fist. So, more hand. Or is it more? It's more fisting, isn't it, than glove, than hand there? Yes. So here it is, Nigel Farage. The fistful of insemination, the inseminator extraordinaire, dispensing tax breaks like an after-dinner mint, forgiving errant party members like a bishop in Clacton Cathedral, and waging his campaign with a mixture of moralism, mischief, and Machiavellian calculation. Magnanimous, perhaps, focused, undoubtedly, pragmatic, arguably, unexpected, always. So don't be surprised if the next Reform UK billboard features Farage holding a pram in one hand and a Union Jack in the other, whispering to the syringe, which is sort of cleverly placed in a back pocket. That's my syringe. I'll make you fertile, Britain, he says. I'll make you fertile, so help me God. And Boris is round the back saying, let's stay the sofa.